Gold is an asset that allows you to protect your savings against the mismanagement of governments for thousands of years. Since the end of the gold standard in the early 1970s, the price of gold has soared from $36 to about $1,800 today. Its price has increased 50 times in 50 years. Savers are trying to protect themselves as best they can from central banks that have turned to a new business: printing money en masse. On this graph, you can see the performance of gold according to the volatility of the markets. We can see that when the financial markets are in turmoil, the price of gold tends to rise. The fundamental physical properties of gold and its 5,000-year history reassure us in times of crisis. It perfectly fulfills a role of a safe haven asset. For centuries, gold has been an effective tool to protect wealth, and the historical data proves it. Now the big question is, can Bitcoin be a more practically and technologically advanced digital gold than the physical gold we know today? This is a big question because between you and me, I wouldn't mind having an additional asset with different fundamentals to back my financial portfolio. Let's try to deal with the subject in this video. Come on, let's go. Basically, the monetary experience of mankind teaches us that central governments always end up corrupting the currency they manage. There is really nothing new under the sun. Voltaire already predicted in the 18th century a paper money based on the only confidence in the government that prints it always ends up returning to its intrinsic value. That is to say, zero. When the Romans fiddled with the denarius or the Byzantines falsified their saldus and other high papyron, in the end it is always the same logic of what is at work today with the FED and the ECB, taking a hidden tax on the wealth of a population. The value of a currency corresponds to a reserve of confidence, and unfortunately we have to admit that every time a civilization has found itself with a sick currency, this civilization has collapsed. So in order to have a currency that truly retains its value, the first logical step seems to be to have an asset that is not under the management of a central government. This is where gold is of sufficient quality to have stood the test of time and be a reliable store of value. For the moment, to my knowledge, no state has succeeded in creating synthetic gold, so gold allows us to impose a physical constraint to hide the key of Pandora's box really deep if you want. But now, gold as a monetary technology is not necessarily the most successful solution. And now we come to Bitcoin. To fully understand what Bitcoin offers in comparison to gold, you have to understand these two assets have a very different evolution. The value of gold is a human and social creation that has been established by itself over 5,000 years of practice. You know the story. First, it was a commodity currency. Then it was used by governments as a standard of value to establish the credibility of a currency. And finally, it was relegated to the status of a barbaric relic in the underground vaults until gold was used again as a reminder of reason when governments went too far in destroying the value of their currency. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is a technical and social construction, and Bitcoin in fact has not been around for 5,000 years, but only for a dozen years, so it is still a very young invention. Now, its design is based on modern knowledge and technology, giving it a number of characteristics that gold will never have. Bitcoin is more easily transportable, divisible, storable, recognizable, and it is even becoming progressively rarer than gold. Indeed, one of Bitcoin's greatest technical feats has been to solve the dilemma of digital scarcity. It's a minor mathematical miracle. Bitcoin is information, but it can't be copied. We have never managed to do that before Bitcoin, and that's why we needed so many intermediaries for payment systems like Visa, MasterCard, and etc. In my opinion, it is this rarity and independence that allows Bitcoin to come close to an asset like gold and also give it this incredible potential. Realize that you can store any value you want, whether it's in pennies or billions, in your head, simply by memorizing a list of words that correspond to your famous private key. Plus, because it's a computer code, Bitcoin is programmable, so it can evolve and improve as it goes along, unlike gold, which will never evolve. This stability of gold is certainly a strength, but in the digital age, it can turn into a weakness. In summary, with gold, humanity sought an asset that already existed that was capable of fulfilling the role of a store of value and a medium of exchange. With Bitcoin, it's different. Mankind is trying to specifically create a tool to fulfill these functions, much like the automobile was created specifically to solve the problem of transportation. Now, obviously, the process of emerging a new store of value is long and complicated, as we explained in this video. It is a recognition by use that is becoming widespread in a population that makes monetary technology a real currency. So the origins of gold and Bitcoin are fundamentally different, but there's nothing wrong with that. You have to keep an open mind. Personally, I want to believe that Bitcoin will compete very seriously with gold as a new monetary technology because it is a better technology and that is the direction of history. As Mark Andreessen already announced in 2011, software is eating the world. We are destined to create more advanced tools rather than use what we find on the ground, or we will be forced to accept their limitations. This is the natural course of evolution and the very definition of intelligence. However, when it comes to the social convention of value, time is a key factor for success. There have been many attempts to create currencies that are more efficient than gold, and to date they have almost always ended in failure, often due to human greed. Bitcoin's great strength, in essence, is its decentralized operation, without governance, which we already discussed in this video on Taproot. Perhaps this time humanity has found a way to organize itself to implement its knowledge without giving the power of that creation to a small group of individuals. I personally think that the biggest factor in Bitcoin's success was the disappearance of Satoshi Nakamoto, allowing his invention to develop in a collective, almost organic way. Bitcoin works because of a community federated by common interests and cross-interests. All Bitcoin players need each other to exist. Now, there's no denying that the road ahead for Bitcoin is still fraught with obstacles and pitfalls. Critics still regularly criticize Bitcoin for its impact on the environment, or its potential future impact on the economy, but they could also attack the humans who make up the network. The community can be attacked. For example, a player who wanted to discredit Bitcoin would propagate the idea that Bitcoin is controlled in the shadows by dishonest people, or even a small group of ultra-rich individuals who want to pull off the heist of the century. Well, that's kind of what the big central banks are trying to do, although they're doing a very poor job of it in my opinion, by trying to reduce Bitcoin to its criminal use or by trying to trivialize it as a toy for teenagers in need of video games. These so-called experts and other big bankers who caused the past and current currency crisis have already long since lost all credibility in the eyes of a growing part of the population. But if this kind of discrediting maneuver were to be carried out, it could have a disastrous consequence for Bitcoin, or at least slow down its adoption by the general public considerably. But then what about Bitcoin today? For now, Satoshi's invention is growing in concrete. Against all odds, the network is growing. To this day, it continues to prove its anti-fragility and continues to grow unstoppably. As you can see from this chart, market volatility is a positive factor for Bitcoin in the same way as gold. It remains to be seen whether Bitcoin is anti-fragile because it is innovative or whether it is anti-fragile by nature, or both. But in any case, it is not the same thing. The company is anti-fragile, for example, as long as it is fundamentally innovative. Innovation is anti-fragile by construction because it seeks to find its way through a frame of reference. The value of Netflix, for example, exploded on the stock market during periods of confinement because this break for normality allowed it to make its way. Sugar too is anti-fragile, but by nature this time. There's nothing innovative about sugar, but in times of crisis it is still what we want to turn to because it is the basic of many primary needs. So one way of knowing whether Bitcoin could become Gold 2.0 is to ask whether Bitcoin is an anti-fragile construction by nature or whether it is anti-fragile because of innovation. Personally, I think it's a bit of both, but only time will really tell. I'll be very curious to know what you think. Feel free to share your point of view in the comments. One thing is for sure, Bitcoin is a very strange animal that will surely continue to reveal all its characteristics. On that note, see you soon for new videos. Ciao.
Thank you so much for watching. If you like my videos, please subscribe and don't forget to hit the bell if you want to be notified of the next episode. And if you want to invest in the stock market over the long term or diversify your financial portfolio, I'm offering you an analysis of the 8 European star stocks to have. Thanks again for watching and have a great day.